Hi YouTube, and this is JTrain997 back with another figure review. And this time we're going to be doing the DC Universe Classics Walmart exclusive Gotham City 5-pack. Now, these are fairly new. I didn't think my area would have them so quickly. This comes with an exclusive Lex Luthor figure, Batman, Superman, Two-Face, and Catwoman. On the back of the box you have all their character bios. Now, 5 figures in this review is going to take a bit, so I'm not going to read all these. If you really want to see them, look over there in the drop-down list for more info. I'll type everyone in. Further ado, let's pull these bad boys out of packaging. Okay, and here they are out of pack. Now, the first figure in this pack is Superman. Now, there's been a lot of Supermans recently. Of course, the first one was in Wave 6 in the Calabac Wave, and it was the black suit Superman. But he also had this, he had his standard suit, he just had the mullet. And then just recently we had the Superman Brainiac 2-pack, where Superman had glowing red heat vision eyes. But this is the first Superman that's been the classic Superman that you know, in his classic costume with no extra features as far as heat ray eyes or a different suit or a mullet. So overall, Superman's articulation is the norm for the DC Universe Classics figures, but it's really stiff, especially at the shoulders. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get him the way you want him. It's just overall, I found the figure's articulation a little stiff. That, and when you have him posed perfectly normal, let's get him posed here, his cape kind of sticks out to the back, almost like the wind's blowing it. Now, I both like and don't like that. It does seem like an interesting little nod. Looks like the wind's blowing his cape. I like that, but at the same time, this does make it a little difficult to put him on a shelf with a figure behind him. So overall, I definitely like finally having a completely normal Superman to put with my DC Universe Classics. Overall, I'd give this bad boy a solid 8 out of 10, very close to a 7.5, but he manages to get the 8. Great figure for this pack. Putting him to the side. And figure 2, of course, which was Batman. Now, I am sick of this mold. We got one in Wave 1. There's 2 more planned for upcoming waves. And of course, we just got the DC Universe 2-pack with him and Clayface, which was pretty much this exact same Batman except with spots of clay on him, which looks like Batman had crawled through a septic line. So overall, this Batman is absolutely the same figure you've been getting, with the exception of his joints are once again a little bit stiffer than normal for some reason. I don't really know why, especially at the legs. He seems a bit stiff, and the cape seems to be hindering him standing up in a straight pose for some reason. I don't really see why. I think it's the way the cape was in the pack. It may have gotten bent just a bit. So, really can't hold that against the figure, the way it was packaged. Overall, once again, this is the first Batman we've had that's completely this design without some little add-on like the spots of clay. But still a little tired of this mold. I mean, well, yeah, mold and maybe a different paint job, especially since we've got 2 more Batmans coming up in other waves. Just think we've seen enough Batman for a while. Overall, I don't see buying the pack just to get this Batman with this paint job. I can't give him anything more than a 7. That's all he really deserves, and I'm pushing him to the side now. On to figure 4 in the wave, which was Lex Luthor. Oops, that's Two-Face. Sorry. Grabbed the wrong one. Now, Lex Luthor is, of course, the exclusive, the big draw in this package. And let's get a quick 360 of him. Now, I like Lex Luthor as a villain, but I'm not a huge fan of him in this suit. Excuse me for saying so, but there's nothing really menacing about pink. Now, I do understand this is the classic look. The line is called DC Universe Classics, and they wanted to go with that. And overall, he's a solid figure. His articulation is definitely the most free-moving out of the entire line. Well, wave. Or pack, if you want to say that. One fist is clenched, while the other fist is slightly opened. More so if you pull at the fingers. But no accessories whatsoever. But still, Lex Luthor is a solid figure. If you're a Lex Luthor fan and you don't mind the fact that he doesn't look really menacing, he's definitely a pickup. I'd have to give this bad boy an 8. Doesn't really deserve more than that since he's really not that much of a... There's really not that much that stands out about him, in my personal opinion. So, pushing him to the side. Now for the next figure in the wave, which was Two-Face. Now, I'm not really sure what it is about this figure, I mean, what line this figure came from. I don't think it was DC Superheroes, but I know he's definitely a repaint of some other figure. So, one of the big things that I don't like about this figure right off the bat, and one of the big things that I have a problem with in this box set, is that there's absolutely no accessories, with the exception of Catwoman's whip, which we'll get to in a second. Batman doesn't have a batarang, Lex Luthor doesn't have anything, and Two-Face, even though it looks like he's meant to be holding a pistol, has nothing. Or I figured he could have come with a little coin attachment, something at all to make this guy stand out a little. But let's get his face in there real quick. As you can see the zoomed out. Let it refocus. There, you can see the molding on his face. Unfortunately, though, the paint job on his neck, as you can see, doesn't really work too well. If you turn it, it looks really poorly done, in my opinion. Panning back out. Sorry for the shaky camera movement there. His articulation is actually pretty close to the DC Universe Classics standard, really. Of course, very hindered legs from the way his jacket comes down. Swivels at the quadriceps, knee joint, although really, really stiff knee joint. And a little ankle articulation, really not much there. Quick 360 of this guy. So overall, Two-Face is an interesting figure, but without any accessories, he's really, really plain. He's definitely needed a little something to add to his appearance. His articulation's a little stiff. I just couldn't say recommending this guy if you're just buying the pack for him. I'd give him a solid 7 out of 10. He's an average figure with some minor flaws. His problem being he doesn't stand out well. And on to the final figure in the way, the one I personally wanted most, which is Catwoman with her whip. Now, her whip fits well enough in her hand. Oops, I said that. As long as you put it in at its base. Any other, well, you can see here, if you put the whip any further in than simply right at its base, it's going to fall out. Or at least that's what it's been doing. It seems to keep wanting to fall out with me here. Let's get it in there really good. There we go. So let's get her posed. Now, Catwoman, like I've said before, looks to be a straight-up repaint of the DC Superheroes one, which also came packaged with a little cat statuette. The DC Superhero one's being clear black. But one of the big issues is, notice with this figure, is that her arm joint is unbelievably loose. So much so that if you twist it just so, you can see it's starting to come unhinged from her arm. So whenever you're moving her whip arm around, you have to be unbelievably gentle with her arm. And I hate it when a figure feels fragile. Other than that, her articulation is... She has very limited abdomen movement. Her legs are very stiff. Very much so at the knee, ankle joint. And her other arm, however, has very free moving articulation, just to contradict that. So overall, Catwoman's an interesting figure, but she has a lot of flaws. Especially with this arm over here, as you can see, that's not even the arm joint moving, that's the looseness of the joint connecting to itself. I'll have to put some glue on that. Oh, would you look at that? Completely broken. And that was on camera. I did not plan that. Completely broken. So, you saw it here. Major quality control errors with Catwoman. Thank God I've got my receipt, because now I'm just going to put all these back in the box and take them back. I'll have to take it back. You saw it here. So Catwoman, unfortunately, can't get a rating. But if she did, it would probably... before her arm broke off, I was going to say probably a 7. Maybe a little bit less, because she felt so frail. She looks cool, but she feels really frail. And now she's holding her own detached arm. Okay, so overall, this box set cost $55 at Walmart. Now, $55 is not a small chunk of change. Now, granted, if you price up what all 5 figures would normally go for by themselves, it actually kind of balances out. But still, so far we got a Two-Face that isn't very good, a Lex Luthor that's kind of and 2 really good Batman and Supermans, which are exactly the same figure they've been dancing around giving us by saying, well, he's been fighting Clayface, he has clay stains. Well, he's fighting Brainiac, he has heat ray eyes. And of course, Catwoman, who's holding her own severed arm. So overall, I obviously have to take these back because I paid $55 and I'm not going to keep a Catwoman with a broken arm. Overall, would I get it? If you have to have these I would hope you don't get the same quality control issues I have with my Catwoman. I would not. It's definitely not worth $55. I'm sad to say. I would just decide to pick out one or two figures that you really have to have because the majority of them are repaints. Or just go on eBay and pick them out one by one. See if you can get them cheaper because they're definitely not worth $55 in my opinion. This is JTrain997, and I give the DC Universe Classics Gotham 5-pack 6 out of 10. There's not much there. Nothing that they're just trying to resell you at a markup. And I'll see you soon, YouTube.